So today, October the 1st, is the feast of Saint Therese. And I think we all know a bit about Saint Therese. She was born in the year 1873, and she died in the year 1897. So she was only 24 years of age when she died. She died very young. She joined the Carmelite monastery near her home at the age of 15. The superior there did not want her in so young, but nevertheless, with a bit of help from friends and others, Therese eventually got into that monastery. Unfortunately for Therese, her mother died when she was only 4 years old, and she died from cancer. And so she was left with her dad and her sisters, and 3 of her sisters also became nuns. So what was the gift? How did Saint Therese become a saint? Which is interesting for us, because she never did anything outstanding or wonderful in the eyes of the world. But she died at the age of 24, probably unknown, and just another little nun leading a hidden life. And it was a hidden life. But Saint Therese, whatever she did, her principle in life, or her attitude was, whatever you do, whatever she did extraordinarily well for love of God. That was one of her strong points, and that she often spoke about. And if you ever get a chance of reading The Story of a Soul, it's a beautiful book about Saint Therese. The Story of a Soul. And the other thing Saint Therese did was, it wasn't, as you can imagine, it wasn't easy living with a group of nuns, and it's not easy if you're in a monastery living with a group of priests, because we're all different. And so the little things that would annoy her and upset her, she would accept cheerfully, joyfully, for love of God. And unfortunately, or maybe fortunately for her, she had a great desire to know Jesus more and to be with Jesus. And she developed tuberculosis. There was no cure at that time for tuberculosis, but she bore that cheerfully and joyfully for love of the Lord. And so she never did anything extraordinary. But after she died, and before she died, her mother superior commanded her to write her memoirs. And she took her a year to kind of fill 6 little exercise books, or 6 little jotters. And she wrote some of her memoirs. And later on, when they were published, people began to realize what an extraordinary person she was. And then in 1925, she was canonized. And then in the year 2015, Pope Francis canonized her parents. Her parents were Louis and Sally Martin. So she's a wonderful little saint, somebody that we can really imitate in our lives. Because just by doing ordinary, everyday things. And her little failings, and the times she got angry and annoyed, she also, because she knew God loved her, she didn't worry. She didn't worry about those. She actually, just to finish, she told her confessor or spiritual advisor once that she had a habit of falling asleep during prayer. Well, that's a very human thing. And he said to her, well, you should be very annoyed with yourself and despondent if that's the way you say your prayers. And she said, no, I'm not. I'm not the least bit despondent about that, because God loves little children, and I'm just his little child. And what parent isn't very, very happy when they see their little child asleep? Same way with God. So it's a lovely, you ought to, if you haven't, get that book, The Story of a Soul. It's a beautiful little book.